Coach, did you get better as an NCAA tournament coach with more reps? Jay Wright was saying he doesn't worry about. He used to worry about where he was seated or geography in the past, but he's gotten better. How do you think he's gotten better?
Just coaching in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my first tournament, it can be just everything that's thrown at you. It can be a little bit overwhelming because you've never been there. There's so much attention on it. Remember, we played Boston College in Landover, Maryland, and I think that was the 8-9 game, and I think we lost it in overtime. Game that we could have easily won, but the winner of that game played North Carolina. Liberty winner, and North Carolina had Rasheed Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse, Jeff McGinnis, and that bunch. We had a good team at Washington State. Actually should have won the game in regulation, but Boston College beat North Carolina by 12. So that's how close you are in these things. It's 40 minutes of win or go home. It's not a 7-game series. Now, you don't have to. The NBA usually picks the best team. The best team usually wins in the series. I like the Atlanta Braves. Over 7 games, they're the best team. You beat them 1 game, beat them 2 games, but you got to beat them 4. And the tournament, it's strictly 40 minutes. So you don't plan for the next one. I think every coach takes their assistant coaches and says, okay, like in our bracket, the winner of our game will play either Illinois or Chattanooga. That's about as far as you go. You'll assign one of those, like Illinois, Chattanooga, the assistants on those 2 staffs will take either UAB or Houston. Whichever one wins, that has that one will make the presentation to the team. But all your thoughts and energy just goes into this game. If you play good, you got a chance to win. If you're off or your best players have a bad shooting night, you go home. I mean, it'll be bandied about and dissected and cut up to death. But it's a simple game. I've had teams I thought was pretty good losing the first round. Not that teams that surprised me got all the way to the Sweet 16. I don't know how many times I've coached in this. I guess it's easy to look up. I'd have to think. But, it's like walking on a tightrope, man. But it's fun. Think about all the teams that didn't make the tournament. They didn't make the tournament, so nobody's thinking about them anymore. But the team that loses in the first round, their season's over. But it's exhilarating. It's exciting. It's why you do all the work. And then, this whole ABC Wide World of Sports. What was that they talked about? The thrill of defeat thrill of victory and what was that saying?
Agony of defeat.
Yeah, agony of defeat. It's agonizing. It's thrilling when you win, but sometimes we forget about what a great accomplishment it is for these teams to make the tournament. It is. I was watching UAB in their tournament. It was almost like, we're not a Power 5 conference. UAB is not a Power 5 conference, so we're not in the national conscious. So people don't pay much attention to us because we're not Power 5. If you watch that tournament, people have no idea how good North Texas State is. And you can't tell them. They wouldn't understand how good North Texas is. They wouldn't understand what a great game, that second game between Middle Tennessee State and UAB. Nobody knows how good Jordan Walker is. What a great roster and putting his team together that Andy has done. I wish we weren't playing UAB because I'd like to watch them play. They're fun to watch. They've got the most dynamic player we've played against all year. We played Wisconsin with Johnny Davis. We played SMU with Kendrick Davis. I just had somebody pop in my mind. Somebody that was really, really good. The guards from Alabama, Shackelford and Quaterly. I haven't seen anybody as dynamic as this kid. I mean, he's really, really good. But I think as you get older, not older, but the more times you go, the more you can hone in on one or two things. But I think the key to coaching the tournament is just get your team prepared to play the best they can play. And then once the game starts, you gotta make shots, you gotta rebound, you gotta defend, you gotta do stuff you've done all year.
We'll go to Christy Regan with the Associated Press. Christy, please go ahead.
I know you're focused on the upcoming game, but I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about how much pride you take in what you've been able to build at U of H in this run of success that you've been able to take this team on since arriving there.
It was really humbling for me, Christy, because coaches tend to not forget where you came from. Now, I remember April of 2014. It was hard to no one outside of our maybe me. I mean, we've had success at other places, and we had a game plan, but nobody knew the game plan. There was no success. There was no hope. There was no aspirations. There was a lot of just empty words. I remember when they were not selling me, but recruiting me a little bit about you got this, and this, and I was nowhere near their mindset because I'm sitting there going, yeah, but you don't have this, and this. And this, and this, what I'm saying you don't have is way more important than what you're saying. Because what you're saying hasn't equated to anything. So from J-Rod Stiggers and LeVon Barnes and Mikhail McLean, O.J. Rose, that bunch of kids that didn't quit. Now we have some other kids that quit. And they decided that they didn't see any hope here. They didn't think you could win here. They wanted to go somewhere where you could win. I remember those days. And to see where we are now, I thought we would get here because that was the goal. And if you take a job, you have to have a plan. What is your plan? Well, we had a plan. I had a plan. But I had to have help from the administration to execute the plan. Now, because you have great facilities, because you have a great arena, that doesn't mean you're going to win. If any guy's getting fired this year has got better facilities than we do. So don't always think that's the answer. That is not the answer. That helps. But we were so far behind in that area, it just made the early years that much harder. That was the difficult thing, is getting through to where we could see the other side. And I'm proud of that, Christy. I am. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of those early days. Nobody in our administration here was in those early days, so even they have no appreciation for where we were. Most of the administration we work with in our athletic department only know that we've won. So they have no appreciation for where we were. And that's something that, I'm proud of. I'm proud of my staff. They don't get enough credit. We've got a great staff here. Kellen, Quantas, KC, they've been with me every step of the way. Head coach tends to get way too much credit for some of this stuff, but I know I could not have done this without my staff, because they've been here from day one. Nobody else has. But Tillman Petita, when he stepped up and gave us that $20 million, that set the ball rolling. We were able to raise $60 million plus for that arena. Didn't mean we were going to win. Like I said, I think a lot of people, look at all the coaches getting fired this week. Look at their facilities. People say, well, we got the facility, we should win. That's such an ignorant statement. What the facility does is give you an opportunity. That means nothing as far as winning. It just gives you an opportunity. So I knew we had to have a chance. We had no chance when we got here. If you divided this league in halves, we were in the bottom half of the bottom half as far as what we had and what they had. That's just reality. Fans don't care about that. They just want to know if you win or lose. If you win, hey, you're a good coach. If you lose, as a coach, we come in and we dig all the way down to the root. Say, why are you not winning? Don't tell me what you have. At least that's not enough. Why are you not winning? That's what I was concerned about. And I saw the root of the problem. The root of the problem was nobody cared. Hire a guy 4 years later, fire him. Hire a guy 4 years later, fire him. You did nothing to help him. So, but I didn't want to be one of those guys. And if I had to make some enemies along the way, so be it. They'll get over it. At some point, you got to stand up for what you believe in. I believe in our ability to build a program. I believe in having a great staff. I believe in recruiting great kids. And I wanted to do that and have a chance to win. And we were able to be successful our second year. The second year was a good year. Third year was a good year. Fourth year was a great year. We've had 4 or 5 great years. But we were good our second year, with no facility. But to get to where we are now, we had to have that. And I just go back and just remind people, there's a lot of people getting fired the last couple of years that's got better facilities than we do.
Just as a quick follow-up, I mean, I know you had a plan and, your coach expects to win, but could you have even envisioned from where you came from to where you are now when you first took over?
Yeah, I don't want this to come across as, bragging or anything, but Christy, the thing I was most proud of in Oklahoma, we were there for 12 years. We were ranked in the top 25 every year for 12 years. That was our greatest accomplishment there. Getting to the Elite Eight and Final Four back to back, getting Sweet 16s. I think we won 4 Big 12 championships. That's all great. But I think the consistency of being able to get ranked every year for 12 years is what I was most proud of. So I took that vision and that expectation here. Now, could I see a Final Four in April of 2014? No. I was trying to figure out where to take the kid on the business and know where to take it. So I decided on the idea of that. But I knew we could. I believed in the vision. I did, Christy. I did. I believed in the vision. I knew how hard it was, but I was willing to work. I was willing to put in the work, and I wanted to hire people that I trusted and that would be shoulder to shoulder with me. Leaders are leaders, but you better be leading the right kind of people. And Kelvin was the key. He was the big reason I took the job, because I knew how good he was. And the fact that he got fired at Appalachian State, I wasn't quite sure who to hire at first, because I'd been out of college for 6 years. But I know I wanted him because I knew how hard he worked. But I wanted our staff to be the North Star. I wanted our staff to be the North Star for our players. And once I got here, I learned that you have to depend on yourself. And then fight the daily battle to get what you need. You got to believe in yourself first. Then you got to go win those battles. I lost some battles, but I won the war. And that was what I was most interested in.
Thank you, Griffey. We'll go to Joseph Duarte with the Chronicle. Joseph, go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Kelvin, I wanted to I'd like to go back to something you said this weekend, talking about Tyler Edwards and what he brings defensively. You've had guards in the last several years since you've been here that have been great perimeter defenders. Galen, Corey. What traits do you see or find in guys? Because I'm going to venture to say when they got here, they weren't that product that they eventually, when they left defensively. What trait did you see early on, or is there a common trait for those guys and how Tyler fits into that group of guys that have been really good defensively?
Well, obviously, you got to be tough, but you got to be tough-minded. Guys that can't string multiple possessions together, those are the kids that, as you're evaluating kids, recruiting them. I don't recruit a kid. I've never recruited a kid because he's a great defender. Our job is to make them good team defenders first. At some point, you better have somebody who can guard the yard because of isolations. You'll go at people. One of the first things I ask in scout report is who is that team's weakest perimeter defender. A lot of times you'll see it playing isolation basketball. But there's a plan behind that isolation. We're going at somebody because we think we have an advantage with that matchup. Galen had to evolve into that. Galen's defense in high school was getting steals. For some misinformed reason, people think that the best defenders get steals and block shots. But if you block shots and they get the ball back and score, what did the block shot do? The block shot's only good if you can change possessions. Trapping and getting steals doesn't mean you're a good defender. It just means you can get steals. But good defenders can sit down in the stance and keep the ball in front of them and navigate screens, can get to the weak side, help on the drive, and then recover on a closeout, sit back down in the stance, and guard the ball. That's hard. Hardest thing in basketball is guarding a great offensive player in space. That's why the Walker kid from UAB is a monster matchup, because he makes hard shots. And he has the ultimate green light, so a miss doesn't bother him. And he is a shot maker. But Tyler has evolved into Texas Tech is a great defensive system. Now, their system is different than ours. Good defensive systems don't have to be the same, but good individual defenders travel home and away. Some guys are pretty good at home, but they're not mature enough to be that way on the road. Difficult. But every good defensive team we've had a great home ball defender. Why the 33 and 14 is so good? We had two. You're lucky if you have one. You play with house money if you have two.
Hey, Joseph, we'll go to James Mueller with the Cougars. James, go ahead.
Yeah, Kelvin, Jamal's stepped up in big ways this year. But this will be his first, true, meaningful minutes in the NCAA tournament. Do you take a guy like him aside and talk to him, or is it just more of, keep being yourself, do the same things you've been doing all the season? How do you approach, a guy who's your point guard playing in his first, NCAA tournament? Basically.
Neither one. Neither one. You try not to make it bigger than it actually is. He's already excited. Jamal's smart. It's like telling the drowning guy that the water's wet. What are we saying to him? Got a game coming up. Our next game is UAB. It just happens to be in the NCAA tournament. He's watched that tournament since he was a little kid. Everybody has a first year in the tournament. This is Kyler's fourth year. I'm sure Kyler probably can help him more than I can. Every how many years this is, for me, I don't think I've ever grabbed a kid aside and say, look, this is the NCAA tournament, here's what to expect. That doesn't help him. He's got to figure it out himself. We're not changing defenses. We're not going to change our offense. We're not going to change how we attack zones or anything. We've played 34 games and we've won 29 of them. He's been pretty good this year. For our next game. Our last game was 3 games ago. Our next game was Cincinnati. Then our next game was Tulane. Then our next game was Memphis. Now our next game is UAB. So we just get ready for the next game.
James, we'll go to Chris Gardner. Chris Gardner, yeah. Chris, go ahead, please.
For the first game of the tournament, how much time do you spend prepare looking at the teams, all their games of the season, a handful of games, some opponents? How do you prepare for their first opponent in the tournament?
Usually during the course of the season, you know your next game, right? Or the game after that, the game after that. Before the season starts, I try to match the assistant coach's scouting responsibility to the strengths of the other team. I want Quanah scouting these games. I want Kelvin scouting these games. I want KC scouting these games. So now that you get to the tournament, there is no next game. We only have one. It's a one-game season. You know, if we play good, we got a chance. If we don't, our season's over. Simple as that. If we win, guys will be asking questions, and if we lose, we'll be writing about how we lost. But there is no next game. So each one of the assistants have a little input. They'll take this block of games, like KC. Kellen is the lead scout on this game. So they all coordinate with him. Aquinas he's looking for certain things. KC will look for certain things. And then these guys will get together and prepare. And like this morning, they made they talked to me about what. And then we watch a lot of tape. I'll have our video guy put certain games, like North Texas. People have no idea how good they are. Louisiana Tech got the most unique player in America, Kenny Lofton Jr. You can get to see them play, but which one of the games do they play where those teams are most like us? Those are the games I tend to focus on. Some teams play all zone against them. We don't really zone much, so I don't get a lot out of watching that one. The teams that play man-to-man, similar pickup points, similar pick-and-roll coverages, how they guard the post. So those are the things. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how we guard Walker, how we guard Earl, and how we rebound. There's certain guys on the team that I fall in love with. One of the kids I fall in love watching them is Quan Jackson. Every team needs a Quan Jackson. He's like Tajay Moore for us. Tajay does a little bit of everything. Playmates, make a basket, can pass, and get a rebound. He can defend. That's Quan Jackson. And all their kids are like ours. They have all their kids are new this year, just like all our kids are new. So we're a returning Final Four team. We are not a returning Final Four team. The Final Four team is not here. None of them. The only guy we had that played in the Final Four, made up for minutes was Reggie, and really Reggie. Fabian was still recovering. And he's not playing as much right now. So they have a brand new team. We have a brand new team. They're integrating the transfer portal, and the transfer portal has really helped us. That's why my hat's off to Andy Kennedy and the job he's done. He's done a great job. They're really good team. That's a top 3 team in our conference for sure.
We'll go to Greg Bailey from KTRK. Greg, please go ahead with the question.
Kelvin, you're touching on a couple of themes with us. You've always said to us, you really take a lot of pride in the fact that your kids earn the right to play in front of a full building. They earn the right to accomplish great things. How much of your coaching and the feeling of reward is accomplishing this and taking a team that you really like to the NCAA tournament? What is that experience like for you?
Just happy for these guys. Having taken so many teams that have different levels of expectations. It's such an accomplishment to make the tournament. Some people will think you're a disappointment if you lose in this round and this round. I guarantee you coaches don't think that way. And if you're an older coach, you learn not to worry about what other people think. So, this team could lose in the first round, or this team could advance. We have that kind of team. We've come a long way with this group, and where they are right now is a testament to their hard work, their ability to stay together and play for each other and pick each other up. This team really had to come together, probably more than any other team we've had. They had to lean on each other. We had to be a team. We couldn't be a team of stars. We had to be a team of teammates. I don't think you can have a great team unless you can be a great teammate. And we teach that. We emphasize that. That's why when you see one of our guys take a charge, I don't know if we're after lose ball, you see four guys go there and sprint to help him out. That's what teams do. You make a shot, everybody's excited for that guy. Team. This is very much a we and us program, and so when they have success and we can get to this stage of the season and we're one of the teams still playing, just proud of this team and their accomplishments. And I can't say enough again about our staff and the job that our staff has done with these kids. And so I give a lot of credit to these players. They did it, and just really proud of our staff.
Go back to Joseph Duarte. Joseph, please go ahead.
Kelvin, without necessarily giving away the secret recipe or anything, I was curious about your guys' awareness on the court or the emphasis on the tips that they do. The other day, just watching them, the alertness to tip it off the glass where it shoots back to someone who's expecting that, or the harder bounce on the court, or just any number of ways that y'all tip it. Is that something that is tracked as a stat for your staff? And does it really kind of one of the keys when it comes to, offensive rebounding or stuff like that to get those extra possessions?
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it. Some of those are, those guys that make those, barbecue sauces and those, cook-offs. They're not going to tell you. They say it's a family recipe. I'm not going to tell you all the ingredients. I got some secret ingredients. So, I don't want to disrespect your question because it is a good question, but, those tips our kids are very aware of that.
Is there a little spice at least, or pepper, or some jalapenos, or?
I'll let you taste it and you figure it out.
Gotcha.
No, but that's, last year, people remember Tremon's play against, Rutgers, but you know what the key play was? Remember when, Quentin missed both free throws? Go back and look at that tape and what we did with the second free throw. You can't get it, you gotta tip it. If you tip it, that's the first guy. The second guy is usually the one that gets it. But somehow you can convince your kids that, it takes two to get one offensive rebound. It's like a kamikaze guy. You send those kamikaze guys in there to break it up, and then you bring the other guys in to drop the bombs on them. And I found that out in those war movies. And you bring those planes in there, bomb, 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 and here comes the troops. Well, our tips are really important.
Go back to Chris. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, Kellen said he thought losing, the challenge of losing Marcus and Tremon really energized you, and that you're at heart you always like being the underdog more than the favorite. Did you feel that, and how did you sort of digest that?
Who told you that?
Kellen.
Okay. Kellen. Well, if there's anybody that knows me, it would be him. I just always believed in having a chip on your shoulder. I'll never forget where I came from. where I grew up, how I grew up. I think those experiences should stay with you. And as you have success, just stay grounded. You know, my dad was the greatest, common sense guy that I've ever been around. He just was just real solid in everything he said, the way he thought. You know, he would always, say when you win games, you always give the credit to the players. And when you lose games, you always take the blame. And that's something that's always stuck with me. And I've tried to do that. But I think because the way I grew up, how I got into the profession, you know, I was just a no-name, nobody, very below average NAIA basketball player. You know, guys like that tend to have chips on their shoulder when you move up. So when I finally became a head coach, in the Pac-10, you know, you look over there and I was 31 years old. Lou Olson and Mike Montgomery and, John Munson, Ralph Miller, George Raveling. You know, I better have a chip on my shoulder because I wasn't near as good as those guys. I never thought I was. I had to get better. So, and in Montana Tech, you know, being so young, 25 years old, first head coaching job, you know, understanding the only reason they hired you is because it was such a bad job. You know, the way you start and who you are, I think molds you. But I'm still, you know, in a lot of ways, I guess I'm still that guy. I still have that chip on my shoulder. I guess when that chip comes off, I probably shouldn't coach anymore.
It's time for a couple of questions. We'll go to Daniel Gutierrez, KHOU. Daniel, go ahead, please, sir.
Coach, you mentioned your coaching staff.
Hey, what's your son's name?
His name is Ryan. He's home from school today, so he wanted to be a part of this.
Hey, Ryan. Let's say, you know, I like giving kids nicknames, Ryan. You know what your nickname is now? Ryo.
I'm gonna call him that from now.
Big Ryo. That's a good looking boy you got there.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Coach. I wanted to ask you mentioned about your coaching staff being the North Star, but it seems like with every team that you've had here, you've had an anchor within the player ranks. Fabian is that this year, Dejan last year, Galen, like every single year. I mean, how important really is that? It might be an obvious answer, but to form that culture, to form the consistency that you want in a program, to have that anchor each year that can talk to the guys maybe in a different way than you guys can.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I talk to are, and I'm constantly having, guys, I'm here in the conference room, I'm constantly taking notes, bringing our guys in for individual meetings. But my best anchors are guys that practice like walk-ons, but play like stars. So like I want my assistant coaches to work like an assistant, but I want them to think like head coaches, because I want them to take ownership, and because this is part of the growth of this program. But our anchors have to have the right attitude. You can't have a bad anchor. You know, being in the NBA, you could see other teams' best players and the way they were. It wasn't hard to figure out where they lost or why they're not winning. The best players got to be, you know, for instance, San Antonio, Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's your best player. That's a pretty good anchor. Not necessarily just because of the kind of player he is, but the kind of respect he commands. I wish you could have seen our kids, after Fabian got hurt against, Tulane. I didn't put him back in. But our kids on the bench, they just rallied around him because Fabian was on the bench coaching them. You know, he was lifting them up. That's pretty cool to have your best player care about the team more than himself. You know, your best players, if your anchors care more about winning than they do statistics, now you're on to something special. Rob Gray, Rob Gray had a hard time learning that. And I probably had more battles with him than any best player I've had. I had to get him to conform. And I had to go to extreme measures to do that. I remember a game I sat him out. I wouldn't let him play. And it probably meant we had no chance to win without him. But so be it. That's just the way it goes. If you're going to be the best player, then this is how you've got to be. But you know what? One of the things I love most about coaching is watching them get there. And once they get there, it's just the way it should be. When you coach, when I got into coaching, all young coaches think I'm going to win championships. I'm going to play on Monday night and cut nets down. Then you quickly realize you better put that in the closet. Don't worry about practice today. But Fabian was a long way from being an anchor. But you know what? He got to watch some pretty good ones. He got to watch Rob Gray. I think he was high school that year. No, he was a freshman. Once he didn't hit so long, can't remember his freshman year now. But Rob Gray, Galen and Corey, Dejan and Quentin. And Fabian's smart. He sat back and watched. He had some tough days, as they all do. But they fight through it. That's the thing that upsets me most about the transfer portal. It's given the kid a reason not to have to fight through adversity. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think kids need adversity. They need to learn how to button their chin strap a little tighter, tighten that belt, tie your shoes up. Today's an important day. You don't run to the compliance office and apply for a transfer. It's a lot better to stay and fight. That's how you learn about yourself. That's how you prepare yourself for life. Fabian did that. He stayed. He fought. He got better. He failed. He got up. He failed some more. He got up. Now he has all those experiences of failing and succeeding to put him in a position to be a great anchor. And he is.
Apologies for the fire alarm here, everybody. But I guess we'll see if we can keep fight through this, I guess. Let's give it a shot for a couple more questions. Dayon Dunlap, go ahead if you have a question, please.
Hey, Coach Sampson, you kind of just covered it a little bit. I guess my question is, just as a coach and the many athletes you were coming along with that, kind of talk about the enjoyment of developing players and teams and even your coaches, watching them grow and even mature into men and become like young men.
Yeah, that's the thing you never lose sight of, Dayon, is that's why you get into coaching. I think that's how you stay in this business a long time, is you put the players first. And because of, the salaries that they pay you now, the exposure you get, the way your life changes because of all of that, you just can't forget where you came from, man. You've got to remember, and don't ever forget why you got into this profession to begin with. That's who you are. The other stuff will get you. The graveyard is littered with guys that forgot where they came from. I want to be a guy that our assistant coaches can look at and say, when I become a head coach, I've got to make sure that I never forget why I got into coaching. I like leading and teaching, developing, putting these kids in a position to be successful. So when they do leave us and they have their adversity, they're sure to come. You know what? I've been through something like this. It may not be the same thing, but it's comparable. And I can get through it, because they're all going to have it. Even if they don't go on to become successful, and that's why I always keep that ladder in here, not as a reminder that we climb to cut nets down, but remember that first step is usually failure. And you've got to get to the second step by being tough enough to get through it. And that's a lesson that all the kids that go through here, and that's why they all remember the culture. As part of our culture is Sometimes our adversity is man-made, sometimes I manufacture it, sometimes it's real. But there's always the adversity. That's why we talk about winning on the road a lot. Of all the things we accomplished this year, none of that happens unless you know how to win on the road. We went 7-2 on the road. It's a pretty good accomplishment for this group.
Next question will go to Joseph Duarte. Joseph, go ahead.
No, but I'll make this quick. Was there anything in terms of what you saw from Fabian back-wise after the game, or got reports? Did that seem like that's resolved, or is that still something that's lingering?
We didn't do anything yesterday but meet. We met yesterday, went over our schedule. We did a quick dive into UAB with the players. By the time we got out of Dickies Arena Sunday, we got on the bus, and that was every bit of a 4-hour drive for us. I think we got back about 10:30, maybe a little later, something like that. Fabian, Reggie, Tajay, Ramon. We've got a lot of guys that are just automatic in the training room, getting treatment, and they were all in there Monday morning. Fabian was in there again this morning. John didn't think that it's going to hold him out of court. We're going to practice today and start our preparation with the players, and I expect them to play. I expect them to practice. So I think we've got everybody as good as they're going to be. At this time of year, the guy that's probably got the most injuries is Ramon. I mean, he's got one thing after another with him. Reggie's what it is. J1. Our guys look like mummies getting ready for practice. They got tape everywhere. But we're going to dance until the music stops, whenever that is.